can get £30 in bonuses and 30 free spins when you wager £10. Take a spin on exclusive games,
Give me a second.
timeless classics, and play all the biggest hits, all in one place. Place your best bet.
I apologise about yesterday, by the way, me just shutting the live down because I was in a pissed off mood. Just some days you're just not with it, and people just fucking wind you up. Right, so we're going to look at some allegations made by Avi Loeb, which is interesting because we're speaking to Avi Loeb live tomorrow, so maybe we can mention this. We're going to look at something to do with this 3i Atlas and a solar flare hitting it, and we're going to be looking at the latest on the drone stuff as well. So let me just go live on TikTok a minute and see what TikTok are doing. See if the plebs want to come over here. Let me just go. No comment. What's that?
Why would I mind? Shut up. You're the one that's...
Can't play that out loud. Right, let me just play this a minute while I'm waiting.
This is the 3i Atlas object, which is, if some people are saying it correctly, a comet. If you're Professor Avi Loeb, you think it's potentially something anomalous. Let's deal also with the claims that have been made, mainly by Professor Avi Loeb, who is driving, God bless him, a lot of other astronomers to distraction with his persistent assertions that there is something anomalous about 3i Atlas. The ball is very much in Professor Avi Loeb's court right now to prove his case that there is something anomalous about 3i Atlas and that it's just not, it's not just another meteor or comet. I've consulted with astronomers. I've consulted with people who've contacted me in great frustration because they don't understand why Professor Loeb is making such a huge song and dance on very, very limited evidence that there is something anomalous about 3i Atlas. And I've been very willing to give Professor Loeb a good go because I have huge respect for him. He's very, very well respected in the field. And I just have a hunch that just maybe he's had a tip, a private tip from somebody in NASA or some other space observatory telling him that there is something anomalous about 3i Atlas. But certainly the official position from a broad range of astronomers that I've engaged with is thus, that there is no anomalous behavior or movement detected with 3i Atlas. The most recent scientific assessments, including orbital solutions from the Minor Planet Center and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, indicate that 3i Atlas follows a trajectory fully consistent with gravitational dynamics for an interstellar comet.
Listen, it's called Connect Team, and it's insane. I don't do schedules or timesheets manually anymore.
And it works?
All right, so as you can see from Ross, I mean, he comes out shots fired, right, at Avi. Kind of, you know, what's he doing talking about 3i Atlas being anomalous? Like, you know, this is crazy. I talked to astronomers. They said it's nothing crazy, you know. But I think when you hear Avi...
With all due respect.
This is from the vetted channel that I've put on. It will be on in the description if you need to check the full video.
Ross Coulthart is not a scientist. And the statement he made in the last sentence is exactly the basis for a scientific paper that I submitted for publication last night. There is no non-gravitational acceleration, despite the fact that there is evaporation from the object. That means the object is very massive, anomalously massive, 1,000 times more massive than Borisov, the previous object, and 1,000,000 times more massive than Oumuamua. And this is just the lower limit. That's the minimum mass that is needed in order for it not to show any push back away from the sun. So if you see, you know, an object that is, let's say, a dust particle you see twice an object of the size of a dust particle, and then you see a boulder that is 1,000,000 times more massive appearing. Wouldn't that be curious? Wouldn't that be strange? Wouldn't that be anomalous? And just to remind whoever is viewing this, Ross himself keeps talking for years about unidentified.
What do you think, Matt, of aviation sold? Still have my doubts. Convince me. What do you mean aviation sold? What do you mean, Michael?
Anomalous phenomena. So he makes a living out of talking, not doing science, just talking and speaking to other people who do science. And he himself is engaged with things that appear anomalous. I'm doing the science. I published scientific papers. I wrote 9 scientific papers over the past 2 months on 3i Atlas. I'm not a journalist asking.
Do you know? I have to agree with like Avi Loeb. Like he has been everywhere pushing this out there, but Ross Coulthart has been everywhere as well, and he's made some outlandish fucking claims. He said there's a building built over a UFO that's so big they couldn't move it. That's an outlandish claim with nothing to back it up. And now he's saying that he summoned things in the sky and he's not backed that up. We did have a Michael Batista last week. I've got Michael Batista Friday. I'm still waiting for people to reach out to me if they want to join me on that. I'm on my own at the minute. Again, we'll speak to Michael on Friday and we'll ask some of the questions that people were asking. Avi, I wasn't really going to join the live tomorrow with Avi, but because of what's coming out, and maybe I do have a few questions that he could do some clarity on and stuff like that. So maybe it is worth speaking to him one more time. And to be fair, the last half an hour of the interview that we did last time, I started to like him a bit more. The first half an hour, I thought he was a bell end. And I'm not scared to say that either. He is just a scientist. It's nothing special to me. Ross, over the months, has become vague about aspects, unfortunately. Yeah, something's gone on with Ross, and even I'm a bit thingy about Ross. So yeah, I can't say too much on something because we're speaking to someone at the end of the week. It'll make sense at the end of the week. Hi, my Yorkshire though. Boogie B. I'm in the Batley, Yorkshire. Come on, TikTokers, what are you chatting on there for? Get over to YouTube. Mike Newby, hi Mike, welcome over. Welcome Jack, welcome Michael, welcome M4 Drew. Let me know if you're in there. Don't just, like I say, don't just stand in the background like a pedo in the bush. Drop your name so I know that you're in here, so I know who's actually followed me over from TikTok and stuff like that. I'm on both. Well, I'm coming off TikTok in a minute, so if TikTokers want coming over to YouTube, I ain't talking to 2 all night. Fuck that. It's annoying. Making sure that I'm side profiling from fucking profiling bullshit.
For the advice of other people to tell me what this object is. I'm actually doing the research to tell me what the object is. So for a journalist to go around and solicit consensus view about an object and then talk for years about anomalous phenomena that...
Love the way you say it as it is. As it is. You live regular. I'm quite live regular. I'm live every Sunday. I've been live quite a few times this week. I join other people's lives, but yeah, I'm gonna get more and more live on YouTube. I need to do more on YouTube. So I'm on the road to 8K now. So I'm getting momentum. No point stopping when the momentum's there, right? So we've got some interesting things. We've got Avi Loeb interview tomorrow. That's multi-hosted. And we've got Michael Batista Friday. Again, these are live. We're looking at Jason Sands for the 3rd time for October. And we've got... I am pushing to get James Fox on. And I'm just keeping that under my hat. And that'll just get dropped last minute. In 5 minutes, I'm going live with James Fox. Bang. Get straight in there. What time tomorrow is Avi Loeb? It's 7 p.m. UK time. Why are you still asking me questions on TikTok? I swear to God, I'm sure some of you are slow. Come on. Alex, come on over to YouTube. I just stopped by for a Jack Nosey. Good lad. Are you from TikTok or are you just from a bush? At this point, I feel like Avi is just trying to find any circumstantial evidence he can to sensationalise this and claim aliens. Well, let's be honest. There's nothing else. There's no other scientists coming out with, right, like Avi Loeb is, and saying, listen, this is what it is. It's a comet, and the reason we've got the carbon dioxide, the reason it's got nickel and no iron, the reason it's got this, the reason it's got that. Like, how's it growing when it's getting closer to the sun? How's it slowing down? I don't get that. It's supposed to speed up in it. Or maybe it does slow down because of the gravitational pull. But I think I actually read that. It slows down because of the gravitational pull, which would mean potentially it's not alien technology then, because they would be able to carry on at the same speed. But they'd also be able to slow down as well. And so we don't know. Okay, I'm over from TikTok. Lol. From a tree, but with binoculars. Diamond geezer. Ah, you're the guy with the only fool's top like me. Because it's aliens. Everybody that's commenting on TikTok, you need fuck off. Fuck off. I'm not even trying to say that word when I drink. Psychiatric help, right? You need psychiatric help. Because I'm on YouTube talking to YouTube, and you're just like perverts in the bush. Come on. The heat would do both, I would say yes. Avi one should be quite interesting from a science perspective. Well, the Avi Loeb that we did last time is welcome to the member club, Kate Slate. You are on Spock level. Welcome. Welcome to the club. Love it when people join the club. Because I've not even decided what the benefits of being a club member is yet as well. So you'll get some shit soon. Because I'm quite a generous person. Sorry I'm late. What's our topic, boss? Your topic is to get on over to YouTube, UFOs around the world, where we are talking through what Avi Loeb's saying about Ross Coulthart, which is important because we're speaking to him tomorrow. And for people that didn't see the last Avi Loeb live, it is on my YouTube channel, UFOs around the world. So you can catch up with that. As is Simon Holland, as is Richard Doty, as is Jason Sands, as is... what's he called? Patrick Jackson. Patrick Jackson, by the way, got mentioned today on News Nation. He's going on News Nation. So not only was I there first to nab him and to get him on a live Q&A on TikTok, he then went on to Area 52 with Chris Ramsey, and he's going on to Area 50. He's going on to News Nation, it looks like, next week. So, yeah, your boy did good there getting him. And I can get him whenever I want to do a Q&A. Q&A whenever we want. Waiting on the merch that was promised. Well, there's one of the hats, but that's the only hat available. I've got a t-shirt. That's the only t-shirt I've got. I have cups. I had one cup. I gave that away recently. So that's the only cup that I made. So, yeah. I will get these cups and stuff out there for people.
The same people that he's talking with right now would completely dismiss as irrelevant the same UAP that he keeps talking about, UFOs, UAP, and he talks about it for many, many, many broadcasts. If he were...
I do apologise about the ads. There's nothing I can do with that, as far as I'm aware. My channel's monetised, so it runs ads on my videos. So there's nothing I can do on that.
To go to the same people that he talked with.
I think there's a browser you can use, and it might stop it. I don't know. But I'm not going to promote that in case it goes against community guidelines and stuff.
About 3i Atlas. They would completely dismiss that as irrelevant.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44,
Adverts annoy me as well.
a complete...
Matt, for someone that isn't big yet on YouTube, you have managed to get some big names in very fast. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. Are they big names? Richard Doty, big names? Just an old man. Avi Loeb, is he a big name? Just a scientist? These are just normal guys, by the way. People put them on these pedestals, and they're just normal guys. They are normal fucking people. Like, I wouldn't get starstruck if I saw Avi Loeb in the ship. Like, oh my god, it's you, the alien guy. Although people would probably get that if they see me, because I'm far more famous than Avi Loeb. 100%. Why have I got a restriction on TikTok? Cough. Hates me, TikTok. Hates me. Right, I'll just get YouTube Premium. I could get YouTube Premium, but I just don't want to. Have you seen the remote viewer session on Free Eye Atlas? They say it's being guided here. I seen one. I did see one. Okay, YouTube on my phone. Chat's there. Laugh my ass off. The ads on YouTube are annoying. Right, forget about the ads. Right. Enjoy your content. I want to see you succeed, brother. Thank you, K-Slate. I really appreciate it. And thank you again for becoming a member. It's yeah. It shocks me when people become members. I've got quite a few members now, and it's really nice. Okay, on YouTube. When he gets Luna on, I'd love to get Luna on, and I would say it. You know, I would. Luna, you're doing a fantastic job, and I would crawl across hot coal just to sniff one of your farts. I would say it. I'd be drunk, but I'd be saying it. I don't care. She can subpoena me. I'm going to subpoena you for saying that.
He believes that there are unidentified anomalous phenomena, and he keeps talking about it forever. But for 3i Atlas, no. He will go to the same people that dismiss UAP and ask for their advice, and then use sort of an average over their opinions to...
How many people are in the live, by the way? Can someone comment? Because I can't see it. Because I've got a few here in TikTok that I don't think are either listening or they're multitasking. Please come over to YouTube so we can watch the video and get the comments in, please.
Claim that when Avi Loeb does scientific work on this object, we should not accept it. Why? Because a group of other people said to him...
Maybe I took him wrong, you know, because he is quite argumentative in his interviews. Maybe I took what when he was replying to me, maybe I took that the wrong way. Maybe I took it like, he's being a bit of a twat, when really he's not. It's just the way he is. Maybe I just read him wrong, because he did seem a bit better the last half an hour of the first interview we did. So we'll see. Maybe he's just passionate and he gets to... What am I saying? I'm an absolute twat as well. I can be a right twat. Yeah, maybe it's not him. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe it's me. But he's gurning there. He's angry. Everything he says is anger.
That we should not consider any anomalies. And I say, well, exactly this sentence that he said at the end, where the object doesn't show any non-gravitational acceleration, that sentence is an anomaly. Why? Because in order for the object not to be affected by its evaporation, it needs to be extremely massive, anomalously massive, 1 million times more massive than Oumuamua. And we haven't seen 1 million Oumuamuas.
And don't worry, Avi's not done here. I've got a couple more clips to share, but you know, this is just very interesting, right? Avi's making some good points, in my opinion. You know,
and just a shout out to Patrick over at Vetted, because it's he's like a news channel, so he does like daily videos. He hasn't been doing daily videos recently because I think he's doing something. He's investigating something. But it's good if you want something broke down. If you're interested in something and he's covered it, he usually breaks down the juicy bits for you to watch and stuff like that.
Ross is not a scientist. He's talking to some other people, getting a consensus.
Is 5 of those people that he spoke with is that 3i Atlas is just an unusually large object that is on an unusually fine-tuned trajectory with the planets by chance. So it's big by chance. It's aligned with the planets by chance. It has nickel without iron by chance. It had a plume of scattered light ahead of it towards the sun instead of behind it, away from the sun, the way comets show, by a process that we don't understand but we don't care about. And it will come close to Mars and Jupiter by chance. So the timing was...
I totally get it, Phoenix, and someone's passionate. Listen, you've followed me long enough to know how passionate I am and how angry I get and how passionate I am when I think something needs to be put out there, right? I totally get it. Maybe I've read him wrong. Maybe on if someone's just come into one of my lives videos, they thought he's an absolute twat. But then if they watch a few of them, they'll be like, oh no, I get him. I understand Matt. Maybe I just don't understand Avi yet. I haven't watched all of his interviews because there's too many of them and it is like a copy and paste thing, and I'm hoping that's not what tomorrow's going to be. We want to try and ask him things that nobody else has asked him.
Particularly, fine-tuned, but by chance. And, all of these coincidences. Each of them has a low probability. Some of them we've never seen before for comets in the solar system.
I mean, in my opinion, he laid down the law, and I'll put a link in the description to the full interview so you can see more. There's a little bit more of what he said, but basically lays down why it's a
papers about these facts, submitted them to journals, and then Ross, who keeps talking forever about unidentified anomalous phenomena, decides to realize what this object is by asking around people, just
7
asking,
UK
astronomers that he would like to pick.
This man will be on with me, Interstellar, potentially Daniel Knightley, potentially Jack Does Stuff, Hallucination Hippies, and UFO Shiv. So that's quite big. That's quite big numbers. If we all turn up, that's quite a big thing, because Avi's going to be speaking to someone that's got 250,000 followers, someone who's almost got 250,000 followers, another person who's got 200,000 followers, someone who's got 50,000 followers, that's covering nearly 1 million followers just on those 5 or 6 people that are interviewing him tomorrow, and that's live on TikTok. So that could bring in some serious numbers. So it's interesting, but TikTok's a bit funny. You don't share it out there, so you can't be sure, can you?
And my question to him is, why don't you ask the same astronomers about UAP and say the same thing?
Dan Knightley is good. Yeah, Dan can be all right. Yeah, he's gone woo woo. Remember, he doesn't do woo woo. We don't do woo woo here. Well, he's gone woo woo because on his live yesterday he went, "This is first contact." He's gone woo woo, and I'll tell him that when I next speak to him. You've gone woo woo now, Dan. Should be called Dan Woo Woo Knightley now. Clip that. Clip this. Dan Knightley is now Dan Woo Woo Knightley, and tag him in it and get it over TikTok. And tag that bit that I've just said as well.
That they say about UAP, because that's what they tell you.
All right, y'all. So look, I'll put a link down below. Check out the full.
The link will be down below on this as well once I've uploaded the live. Right, let's get rid of that a minute. This is the Angry Astronaut. This is going on now. Will the Sun destroy 3i Atlas? Solar megastorm hits interstellar visitor.
What you just witnessed was footage from the Parker Solar Probe as it observed and encountered what is called a coronal mass ejection.
He usually likes factual, Dan. I have a problem with that, factual, because he reads articles, right? Doesn't mean it's factual. Not everything he's read out has been factual. He read out, what did he read out yesterday? Wasn't factual. It's interesting. Some of the stuff, he does prefer the factual stuff. I prefer the factual stuff. It's just that I've come to my answers a long time ago. I don't... How can I put it? I sort of already have the answer to what certain things and what's going on and stuff like that. It's like watching people catch up very, very, very fucking slowly. That's the thing. It's like, people say I don't do woo yet, and I'm thinking, well, you will. And then they go woo, and I'm like, I told you. And then they're going to go fucking deeper woo-woo. And I'm like, well, there we go. Right, we're at that level now. Now we can talk. Now we can converse. Because we're there. We're at that level. Oh, that's awesome. That's pretty amazing. That's wild. Had a coronal mass injection this morning. I bet you did. I bet you did. I hope it didn't hurt you too much.
And arguably the most powerful...
You've done more research. I have done more research. Yeah, that's it. That's why I understand why the other people prefer the factuals. I couldn't imagine starting now researching it. It'd be an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare. It's a nightmare for me now because I'm learning all this as well as everything I've learned in the past, and then bringing pieces from the past, thinking, right, that fits with this. That's never been mentioned at all, and trying to weed shit out and go through it all. And I could do 3 or 4 videos every single day. I used to do that. And I've just sort of like hung off a little bit now, and I'm not like I don't want to be the first to get the news out there. I want to sit back and wait a little bit and get a bit more information on shit. Too many people want to be first, and I tried doing that on my TikTok channel and got my fucking fingers burnt badly. People get the fingers burnt when they try to be first on things, trying to rush it. Oh, let's quick get to the algorithm. This is going to be big, and then they get burnt. They're the ones that end up with millions of views, which I've done, and been look like an absolute twat. Like the Kate Middleton one, I was first to that one, right? And I got called an absolute twat. And it's nothing to do with aliens or UFOs. And then she got diagnosed with cancer, like 2 days later. And I said, there's going to be a big announcement from Kate Middleton. And then I said the Putin one, where I thought he'd had an heart attack or a cardiac arrest. Now, he might have done. There's no evidence to suggest he didn't. But it never came out he did. And again, it's always the ones that you don't want to go viral that go viral.
Event in our solar system, at least the most powerful event that we have ever observed. We are talking about millions of tons of solar material being shot out into space with the accompanying force of 1 billion nuclear bombs. The only reason that the Parker Solar Probe survived this encounter is, number one, it's designed to survive it with enormous amounts of heat shielding and radiation shielding, but on top of that, the coronal mass ejection was also diffused over a very wide area. We're not talking about 1 billion nuclear bombs concentrated into one location, but still an enormous amount of energy being spread out not only close to the sun, but spreading out over the solar system.
That's what they should do with sexual predators. They should stick them on a rocket and put them on a fucking one-way mission right to the sun, so they know they're gonna get fucking fried.
Events like this, at least the more powerful ones, can shut down.
Come on, guys. There's 50 people in here. Matt should have at least 60 likes. I should have fucking million likes. Why has no one tapped that button? Melissa, find out who's not tapped it and we'll block him immediately.
Down the entire power grid of our civilization. Something called the Carrington event in the 19th century shut down every single electronic device on Earth. Fortunately, there weren't very many around at that time, but if a similar event were to take place today, it would be utterly cataclysmic to the future of our civilization. And now one of these things has just collided with 3I Atlas. And when this happens to a comet, strange things start to happen. But what if 3I Atlas is not a comet? Can it survive this extremely powerful?
If you are on X, share the thumbnail on X as well. I forgot to share it on X. I usually share it on X.
Event? And if so, could an intelligent civilization actually find a way to harness it? All of this and more coming at you on The Angry Astronaut.
In a world of endless content, what lasts?
Right now. Good evening, alien enthusiasts, and welcome to a special bulletin here on The Angry Astronaut. As much as I thought that I was going to be talking about spaceflight here soon, especially considering that I'm attending the IAC conference, the largest aerospace conference in the world tomorrow, and again, that's all because of you folks. Thank you very much for making this possible for me. Once again, 3I Atlas in the news in a very strange and improbable way. It appears that 3I Atlas is going to be hit, or rather has probably already been hit by something called a CME, a coronal mass ejection. This is something like a solar superstorm. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, these sorts of storms seldom present a huge threat to our planet, although they create these magnificent aurora in our atmosphere, and our satellites tend to be shielded against all but the worst of them. That being the case, though, they can be a lot more dangerous to something that doesn't have a magnetic field. And a comet if 3I Atlas is indeed a comet, shouldn't have a magnetic field at all. It's going to take the full brunt of this impact. And we are talking about an energy release in excess of many thousands of nuclear weapons, a lot of plasma being thrown out by the sun. By the time it reaches 3I Atlas, that plasma is going to have diffused a considerable amount, but still, based on what we have seen when a CME strikes a comet, well, it has an effect, a definite effect. In fact, a breakup of a comet, depending on how much this agitates the surface of it, could be very possible. And even if it isn't, something should happen to its tail. There should be some kind of visual effect if this is a comet. And here's the deal. If it isn't a comet, well, that changes everything. It also makes me wonder, would a CME be usable by an advanced civilization? Is this something that they could actually harness? And if that's the case, is this unlikely event, the fact that 3I Atlas is actually being hit by one of these things, could that be happening by design? So the first question before we get going any further is, what is a coronal mass ejection, heretofore referred to as a CME, and what causes it? Well, one thing you need to remember is that the sun is not only an extremely hot object, it's also an...
What do you think about Denmark, Matt? It's all right. Do you mean the drone stuff? It's interesting. It is interesting. I think it's something to do with the I think there's been nuclear events happening there recently. Things being moved there, and I think there's a connection with that. I've been researching a little bit in the background, but I'm not confident in my research yet to do a video on it to say I think this is the reason why. But there's a connection with something nuclear that was with Denmark, and there seems to be a connection with these things and nuclear bases and stuff like that. And I think there's something that's hidden in Denmark, which is probably a concern if it's Chinese or Russian, which I don't think it is Russian. I think if it is, I think it's US. If it's Chinese, I don't know. It's definitely not. It's not Russian. 100% not Russian. They'd used some of that technology in this war with Ukraine. They thought it was going into a corner shop and invading it, and the shopkeeper's gone, I'm fucking you up, and he's fucked them up.
Intensely magnetic object, and the sun's in...
So 3I Atlas has potentially been targeted by the sun. Yeah, so I looked at it a different way though. When I found this out today, so apparently it shot something out towards 3I Atlas, and apparently it's true, right? But I think it could, if it's not a comet, and it's something technological, then that has probably it's tried probably drawing some energy from it or something like that. I don't know. But it could be looked at both ways. Did it fire at it, or was it that energy drawn to it? We don't know. It is interesting, though. Very interesting. It's getting more interesting now. I'm getting a bit more excited about this comic, but I think there's potentially a risk that there's a meeting Tuesday. It's in, I can't remember the name of the place. It's in with Hegseth and the generals and stuff. There's rumours that it's something to do with potential bits that might come and hit the moon and stuff like that. Now, if it's going to hit the moon, listen, it could easily come and hit us. Easily. If they say, it's going to hit the moon, you have to think, right, well, it could hit us then. 100%. The closeness of, on, like, the universal level of the Earth and the moon, it's basically me, something going to hit me now, and saying it won't hit this microphone. That's how close it'd be. Even probably closer. It's probably like the end of the hair on this chin. So, yeah, if something's going to hit the moon, I'd be a bit scared.
Interior generate powerful magnetic fields that rise to the surface and become entangled, forming these highly twisted structures known as flux ropes inside the sun's corona. And what happens is sometimes these stressed magnetic...
Daughter's just sent me a video of her watching it on the telly. Pretty funny.
Field lines in the sun's corona can be reconnected in a violent manner. And when this happens, and by the way, this happens a lot more frequently when the sun is during one of its more active phases, like it is right now, this causes a sudden release of energy and plasma, which is highly energized matter. And these powerful eruptions are more common, as I said before, during the solar maximum, when sunspots and magnetic activity are at their peak. The process often begins when
Hi, father-in-law. Hi. Oh, God. I'll be your father-in-law, but you better be rich. That's it. You better have cash, and you better be able to treat me when I want treating, not just my daughter.
Magnetic flux ropes in the corona become unstable, leading to a restructuring of the magnetic field that expels the plasma. Now, the plasma is primarily comprised of highly energized electrons and protons embedded within the sun's magnetic field, and the amount of this matter that gets ejected in your average CME is 1.6 times.
Well, the sunny state, we don't know. There's what was it that's I can't even talk about it because I can't fucking remember, but there's something that I can't even talk about it. I'll have to look at it again.
10 to the 9th power metric tons worth of material, about 1.5 billion tons worth of plasma. That is an enormous amount of extremely energized matter, producing the equivalent of about a 1 billion megaton explosion. Now, once it travels over distances of tens of millions of kilometers, this plasma becomes diffused. It becomes a lot less potent. However, the magnetic and radiation levels of this plasma.
Why can I not find you on TikTok? What, live on TikTok?
Still remain extremely high and extremely potent, which can be very damaging to an object that is not shielded by a magnetic field. In other words, sometimes a satellite in geosynchronous orbit, or especially something flying through interplanetary space. That's why solar storms and coronal mass ejections can be extremely dangerous to future moon missions. But what?
Tired of gurus selling you the next get-rich-quick scheme? Discover why
happens to a comet. Well, for one thing, this plasma impacting the surface of a comet.
Yeah, I can't find out. I just follow. It's UFOs Around the World 2.0. I have two accounts, one with 14k and one with 257k, I think it is. UFOs Around the World 2.0, all one word. You are blank on TikTok. What? What do you mean I'm blank on TikTok?
I simply can't.
Blank on TikTok.
Comet is probably going to excite any of the volatiles on the surface of a comet.
I'm not live on TikTok.
That are bleeding away and creating a comet's tail in the first place. Ices like water ice, dry ice, in other words, frozen carbon dioxide, those sorts of things. So you might get a lot more activity on the surface of a comet. And if that comet happens to be extremely brittle, not in really good shape to begin with, it might disintegrate. Although far more frequently, comets are ripped apart by the sun's gravity than they experience any sort of damage from a coronal mass ejection. Nevertheless, it could happen. What is far more likely when a CME hits a comet is its tail gets blown away. The extremely powerful solar wind will carry away these very lightweight materials, these volatiles that are in the comet's tail, and essentially blast them as if they were in a wind tunnel of some kind. Although the tail will recover within a few minutes or so, the volatiles will begin to bleed away from the surface of the comet again, and a new tail will eventually form. But still, if 3I Atlas is a conventional comet, this means that we should see its tail go away. Not only that, the
Right, can someone just explain to me, am I actually blank on TikTok? Because I can see my profile clear, people are still adding me and something like that, so have they done something wrong? I've not got private, I've not privatised my account from what I know. Let me just check. Privacy, private account, that's not private account. You're just being dumb, people. UFOs around the world 2.0.
Detail should be dramatically affected by this incident as well. Even though an anti-tail is comprised of materials that are so heavy that the normal solar wind doesn't affect it, it should be significantly affected by solar wind that includes all of this high energy.
I wonder if I blocked you the ones that are blank. Have I blocked you? Maybe you were trolls. I don't know. Can you see my other profile? Comment on that and I'll tell you if I blocked you. Bradley, are you called Bradders something on... Are you called Bradders on... 1 minute. Bradley, I blocked someone called Bradders the other day because I thought he was a troll. Let me have a look. Let me go to my block list. Privacy. This will be funny. Right. Bradders 307. Are you called Bradders 307? Louise Hart. Let me see. What was your name, Louise? So I haven't got that many people blocked, so I should be able to see if it's you. I have 2 profiles. What are your 2 profiles? Because I blocked 2 Bradders because I thought they were weirdos. If you admit you were that weirdo, I can unblock you. You got to admit you was a weirdo. Louise Hart, what's your name? There's no Louise on here, so if you've called yourself Louise, yeah, that's me. Right, I'll unblock you. Bradders 307 I'm unblocking, right? So don't be coming at me liking and thinking like that. So Bradders... Right, Bradders 307, you should be able to see my account now. I do apologise if I blocked you for, like, no reason. Hi, folks. Mike's closed down. We've all come over. Welcome in, Laura. Welcome in. We're just looking at some of this angry astronaut
Plasma.
stuff.
So this is what astronomers...
£10. Thanks, Matt, for all your... Oh, Sarah, that's so kind of you. Thank you so much. That will go towards my kids' Christmas presents. That'll probably do. That'll probably do them for Christmas now. I don't need to do them. The rest of them can come down on Christmas morning and find out they've got fuck all.
Astronomers really need to...
My eldest 2, one of them's watching now. She's getting nothing. She might get like £10 off me or something like that. And then my other one, they get to that age now. They have to get me presents because I'm an old man.
Be looking at very, very intently, and I can guarantee you that Avi Loeb is looking at this with a very critical eye. If this...
You're not live on TikTok. I know I'm not live on TikTok. I'm live here on YouTube. I'm trying to build my YouTube account. I've got to drop that whore. That dirty whore TikTok. I've got to let her go sometimes.
Anti-tail remains in place, or if it is not...
Bottle of vodka for Matt, £10. Yeah, well... Okay. If you want me to get a bottle, I'll have to, won't I?
Not significantly
So
damaged
really
by the
appreciate
CME.
That. So kind of
That suggests that there might be...
I know that money's tight these days, and I know that everything's expensive and shit like that. So if you've got £10 to throw my way, listen, just we could have a wild night together for £10. To be fair to you.
Something else going on in this object's coma, something that is very unnatural. So 3i Atlas, regardless of whether it's a natural comet...
For your information, I can't get you live on TikTok. I'm not live on TikTok. I'm just live on YouTube. I came off TikTok live about 30 minutes ago. Because I need to just concentrate on doing my YouTube content.
or something else is unlikely to be significantly affected by the coronal mass ejection, aside from a temporary impact on its tail. But once again, if nothing really happens to the anti-tail, that might suggest that there is something artificial there, something that is capable of resisting the solar wind, even solar wind as powerful as this. And this brings up another question. The odds that this is happening in the first place are not exactly optimal. There have only been a handful of comets in the history of astronomy that have been observed.
I love Bovril. I've got the Bovril cups. I get them from B&M. You know, the ones that are all plastic cups and they've got the Bovril inside. You just put things. I fucking love Bovril with bread. Oh, God. I wasn't going to eat anything because I'm on a little bit of a fast now and I'm doing my diet tomorrow because I don't want to be that nickname Matty Roundhead. A couple of years back in work, they called me Matty Roundhead because my head went round. Don't want to be called Matty Roundhead. So I'm going to be trying to keep my jaw, my jawline and stuff like that, you know. Men have weight. I refuse to do that Monjaro jab that everybody's jabbing in their ass. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's jabbing their ass like fucking heroin addicts. Like, oh, I've got me on the Monjaro. Yeah, I'm on the Monjaro. I've been on it for 2 months. I've lost fucking 5 fucking stone. It's not even been properly tested, man. They're just jabbing their asses with it. If you're on the Monjaro, be careful. Just fast. You can do it yourself. Very low, Matt. Hi, guys. Having trouble, Gillette. It's okay, no, I think it was. What's saying? Love Bovril. Bovril with a little... Oh, I put loads of pepper. I put pepper on anything. I made a chicken curry today when I finished work. Yeah, it was really nice. And the mini poppadoms.
Being struck by a coronal mass ejection.
Yes, from bottom. Are you on about the jabs? The jabs.
Obviously, this has never happened with an interstellar comet before, but there have only been 2 interstellar objects of any...
£10 for a Ouija board. You all want me to do a Ouija board, don't you? And I will do a Ouija board. I really will do a Ouija board. It's not going to be in my home, though. Not a chance. But I'll do it at a haunted house, no problem. No problem.
Kind that we have observed besides this one, so it's not a very big sample size, but it's still a really strange coincidence on top of all...
I guess I had chicken. So what did we all have for Sunday then? Sunday dinners. I didn't have a Sunday dinner today. We had chicken curry. I had chicken Rogan Josh, poppadoms, garlic coriander bread. Yeah, I made it. It's nice.
All of the other bizarre coincidences associated with this object. Is it possible that all of this is happening by design? Well, for one thing, what would it take to create an artificial corona?
I wouldn't do one, Matt. Do what? Sausage casserole. Sausage casseroles are nice.
Mass ejection. Well, for one thing, since the sun is so active anyway, something that would introduce a strong ionization of the corona might actually trigger a CME. High energy lasers, for example, very, very powerful lasers, by the way, might be able to create this phenomenon, but that is something we probably would have seen. A chunk of antimatter, a photon torpedo, if you will, or something along those lines introduced into the corona could also introduce...
Right, so we know now that something's fired out at the... Let me see if I can find a better thing, because I just want to click on something that I've not seen. It's a new video here that's called Aliens Invented Religion to Control Humanity, and I've not seen it yet. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes long, and it's chaptered, which means we can just delve into a few of these chapters. Yeah, are we up for that? Because I think religion is here to control humanity. I think all the aliens shit, all the UFO stuff, all these lights in the sky, were played off to be like angels and demons and stuff like that, and that's what people believed, and they wanted them to believe that. And I think somewhere along the line, some psyop's been played out, and they're saying it potentially it's aliens and stuff like that. This is where I'm going against my own research now, and doubting myself, because sometimes you've got to understand that you might have fucked up as well. Louise Hart, 100%. I recognise your name, Louise, so I don't know why you can't see my TikTok. Just need to reach out to me on one of those accounts, and I'll find out why you can't be seen on it. Had toad in the hole with mash and gravy the other night, with several slices of bread. You got to watch the white bread. That is what causes. I go on like I'm really fat. I'm not really fat, but a little bit of weight on me, I look fat, so I don't want to be doing that. Jason Giorgiani has interesting theories. I watched some of his stuff, that Jason Giorgiani. I reached out to him, actually. I'm in the middle of watching this. It's good. Right, well, don't spoil it. In fact, I'm going to fucking spoil it for you. How far are you? We'll start from where you're at now. Irish stew brown sauce, right. I will go look for you after. Yeah, you'll find me. Right, so did the bad guys win? Let's play this part. Let's see where we're up to here. Again, this is Jesse Michaels. This will be in the description so you can watch it all. The vetted one will be in the description, and the angry astronaut will be. I did want to get to the drones bit as well, but we'll just see.
In the States, we think of Satan or the devil as really, really terrible, right? But he said that the French, they have a different view of it, and it's less sensationalist. That's what he was saying.
So what does all of this have to do with the modern kind of UFO topic?
You're the CEO of Temu, right?
Yes.
How dare you still have the audacity to eat here? You said people could buy the tablet for $0.
I knew Jacques Vallée.
I do recommend
Intelligence
as well
operatives
watching it on YouTube,
to control
YouTube on TV,
a part
not
of
on the
someone's
mobile phone.
mind
It looks better
that
on the TV.
was not normally accessible to them. To compartmentalize a person's psyche and gain control over a certain
Yeah, I thought sensationalist.
fairly intimate conversation. And I brought this question up with him. And because we were discussing basically, and we'll come around to this, time travel.
Mm-hmm.
And whether, he believed that these were basically humans that were reaching back into our epoch from the future. And that essentially, there was a breakaway civilization that had developed a hyperdimensional relationship to the various space-times of the epochs of human history. That a breakaway civilization with time travel essentially was able to have a fifth dimensional relationship with the various 4D space-times of different human historical epochs, right? And I basically said to him, well,
some sort of multiverse management system.
Yes, and I think that's a
branch management system.
And I think that's definitely part of what's going on, right? So how I start my book, Closer Encounters, is I lay out all the different hypotheses. Of course, the ETH, the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and then, time travel, interdimensional hypothesis, the psychic projections hypothesis, crypto-terrestrial, meaning survivors of Atlantis, which we're touching on here, and ultimately also avatars of a simulacrum. Are we living in a simulacrum?
Hey, Edward.
Are these in some sense avatars from the programming level of the simulacrum, which is something that Vallée, as a computer scientist, also has intimated in various writings of his. So, but the point is this, that, we were discussing this, hyperdimensional, extratemporal relationship that these entities have to humans in various historical epochs. And I said to him, well, if this is what you think, why aren't you more direct about expressing that? And he said, because it involves deeply entrenched religious sensibilities of various societies. And there's a sociological dimension to this that could be catastrophic in terms of religious belief systems.
But you're skipping over one part, which is, what does he think? What is the relationship between, the devil, demonic, and UFOs and all this stuff?
I didn't pin him down on that, so I don't want to speak for him, but I suspect that what a lot of people are concerned about, including people in the deep state of our own government, first and foremost, is that the bad guys won. In the struggle over reshaping human history, we wound up losing...
Do you want to read you one of the messages that I've just received here? I won't give the name of who it is, but they explained to me that they wanted to make a hybrid with me, but scanned me and said telepathically, no, we are masters of genetics, of genetics, and yours are not acceptable. They said that they signed a contract with Eisenhower in the 50s to give humans time to get used to the idea of ETs. Could she be telling the truth?
A rebellion against a control system that abides to this day. And the meta-narratives that have dominated the rise and fall of various societies throughout the course of history, including, for example, the destruction of the secular, humanistic culture of the late Roman Empire, the Library of Alexandria, libraries at Corinth, the entire, I'm getting this figure from Carl Sagan. We lost 98% of the knowledge of classical antiquity. They have actually done studies based on the references that we do have to other texts by various authors in the classical manuscripts that have survived, and they've been able to do a reconstruction that shows that we lost at least 98% of the knowledge of classical antiquity. Well, who does that benefit?
Let's talk about a guilt-free alternative to alcohol that's perfect for your dry January or any time you want to unwind. Cornbread's organic CBD gummies. These gummies are an absolute lifesaver for my evening routine. They're a natural way to relax, celebrate, or wind down without the hangover. I've cut back a lot on my alcohol consumption over the last few years. For a lot of you trying out dry January or cutting back generally, it's not always easy, but swapping that glass of wine for Cornbread's CBD gummies is a total game changer. It's a simple upgrade to your evening routine that leaves you feeling great the next day without sacrificing the fun. Plus, with all natural ingredients, they're the perfect way to stay balanced. Cornbread hemp isn't just a product, it's a small way to bring balance into your life. Whether you're journaling, meditating, or simply enjoying some downtime, these gummies elevate the experience.
And one of the most interesting...
Black Plague. Let's see what this chapter's about.
Interesting
So
episodes.
who would that benefit? This sort of
whoever's running the control system,
Malthusian, feast and famine sort of cyclical, cataclysm thing. That would benefit whoever's running the control.
Well, exactly.
Do you have a model of who that is, or?
Yeah, I do.
Who is it?
I do. So, okay, the devil's in the details, or maybe we should invert the religious symbolism there, right? But let me just point to one interesting example of this. Right before the Renaissance took place, I mean, Renaissance is obviously an example of a rebirth of the will to know and human cultivation, both artistically and scientifically. Right? I mean, Prometheus didn't just bring science to humanity. Prometheus brought techne, both in the sense of the arts and the sciences. And so the Renaissance is a quintessentially Promethean phenomenon. It's interesting that immediately before the Renaissance, you had these huge UFO battles over various European cities. And they're reflected in the broadsheets of the time, the newspapers of the time. In Basel, Switzerland, in Nuremberg, in Germany, they show these huge battles between objects in the sky.
Really?
And and some of them, I mean, you can, Valets reprinted them in Wonders in the Sky. There are a number of texts on the UFO phenomenon. These are newspapers that show huge triangular craft, spheres of various colors, attacking each other, some of them falling from out of the sky in battles that took place in several places over Central Europe.
This is like 15th century? Or?
Just before the Renaissance, 1400s.
1400,
yeah. So just before the... So to me, that looks like the rebel faction gaining ground and opening up a space for humanity to progress again for a while, right? Now, there was also...
that's interesting. So you think that these celestial battles take place right before there's some airdropping of human technology or something?
Our brand new live trading floor in Manchester is open and you're invited. This is a 3-hour...
Look, I don't want to reduce human agency, by calling it an airdropping, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little help, right? But at the very least...
Valet would say donations.
Yeah. And at the very least, there was a safeguarding of a space for human development and, the rebirth of ingenuity and so forth. But then, as I was mentioning earlier, let's say the Jesuit order tried to capture that and control it again through, a frontman like Descartes, where you had somebody like Giordano Bruno developing a very holistic sort of, how can I put it, hermetic, alchemical matrix for what could have been a very different form of modern science. And that was destroyed through the reductive, dualistic model of Descartes, right? Where everything in the physical world can only be understood in terms of mechanistic causality, and then whatever spiritual can't be discussed rationally, and therefore, the church continues to have a monopoly over that discourse. So there were attempts to then view Mars in the early.
So we're looking at the remote viewing of Mars, like a million years. Was it million years BC? Let's listen to what he says on this one.
80s. And he said these same people who he had seen on the moon were responsible for a civilization, the ruins of which he viewed on Mars. There were very large, like honeycombed cities, which he said showed evidence of explosions, internal explosions. Like, he said he had the impression that a battle had taken place there.
What's funny you say that. There's a PhD physics who's, I think he worked at Sandia or Los Alamos and also Lawrence Livermore. His name is John Brandenburg. And he says that xenon-129 and argon-40 exist in excess of what you would ever expect just from natural radioactive isotope decay. And that proves that there was actually some nuclear holocaust on Mars.
Well, they found a large amount of xenon-129.
What's more bollocks, Michael?
Which is the product of two things, supernova explosions and hydrogen bomb explosions.
Mm.
And we know there was no supernova on Mars. If there was, there wouldn't be a solar system here.
And you said there was one other argon?
There was when you irradiate rocks that have potassium in them, and all rocks do, they produce a isotope called argon-40, and that's super abundant on Mars. So you have two things that are products of what look like an intense nuclear reaction on Mars in the atmosphere.
Yeah, I spent several days with Dr. Brandenburg in New Mexico, and I put this in Closer Encounters, this research of Dr. Brandenburg, that basically the deviation from normal of the isotopic ratio of xenon-129 in Cydonia specifically, where we have photographic evidence of ruins on Mars, the xenon-129 isotopic signature at Cydonia, he has discovered, is only matched by thermonuclear test sites on the Earth. It's the only other place in the solar system where we see that kind of signature. And he came to that conclusion when he was working at Sandia Labs, which is where nuclear weapons research takes place in the United States. Okay, so there's evidence that some kind of a nuclear confrontation took place on Mars. And by the way,
and Carl Sagan called him and said, "Hey John, why are you causing so much trouble?"
Yeah.
I found that very interesting. Carl Sagan, who held definitely security clearances and knew more than
I'm pretty convinced Sagan was a member of Majestic.
That would make sense to me. Yeah. Because he sort of flipped to he was very interested in UFOs. We know, earnestly interested growing up. His mentor, he would have debates,
the book he wrote was Shklovsky, the Soviet scientist. He co-wrote Intelligent Life in the Universe. And Sagan himself at that point was saying, we should look at ancient myths and check the archaeological and historical record for contact and so on and so forth.
There you go.
And then all of a sudden...
And he had a security clearance, I think project, was it A119, I think in the late 50s, where they were considering nuking the moon as a show of force against the Soviets. And he had a security clearance through the Air Force through that. And then it was interesting. He sort of flipped into anti-UFO mode and like almost official priestly citadel spokesman of the American scientific community, right as J. Allen Hynek moved from, rationalizing, explaining everything away via Project Blue Book, the official Air Force fake program, into...
Have you seen Two-Face the Grey documentary, Matt? I think I have seen Two-Face the Grey, yeah. Hi, Laura. More than likely, plus STDs were rampant. It's a theory, but I hope it adds to a possible solution. The aliens are intergalactic, and the Earth is important to all the levels to stay stable. I love it. All people say the aliens are intergalactic. It's all this, it's that. It's like it's just theory. We don't actually know, people. Let's not say it is. Let's just say it might And if you're adamant it is, you need to give me something to prove it is.
More openness. So like it was like kind of late 60s, early 70s. It's kind of this interesting kind of, thing.
And he was the right age by that point to be recruited into such an organization, In any case, Brandenburg came to the conclusion that something like an Empire State building's worth of nuclear weapons had been detonated to produce that kind of a deviation of xenon-129 isotope at Cydonia. But so Swan saw evidence of this on the ground, like a devastated civilization. And he said it was the same people who he saw on the moon as basically slave drivers. Now, unbeknownst to Swan, and by the way, when Swan remote viewed Mars, he worked with a team of, I believe, 5 other remote viewers, and they were all, they did it independently, right? And they were all blind to the target. But unbeknownst to that whole team led by Ingo Swan, in 1984, I think it was the same year, in 1984, Joe McMoneagle at the Monroe Institute did a remote viewing of Mars.
Why would nuking the moon show of force? Well, it'd be a stupid thing to do, wouldn't it? Look at a show of force. Oh shit, we've just fucked the moon up. We need that. All this is made because it's all being hidden. It is all being hidden, Louise. And a bit of her got thrown in dot.
To the CIA. And
really? I thought it was in the 90s.
No,
really?
1984.
1984.
Yeah, go look it up. The paper's available now. It's been declassified.
Wow.
You can read the whole report.
Yeah.
It's been declassified by the CIA.
Yeah.
And it's 1984. I believe the title is Mars 1 million BC.
Yeah.
And because initially they say to him, go to Mars like 1 million BC. That's what's in the envelope, right? But what he said to them was, when McMoneagle wound up there, he said, oh, it's all in ruins. It's there were people once here. I see like ghosts of people who once were, but they're not here anymore.
I saw people who were 12 to 14 feet tall.
So then they,
pyramids and...
yes. So they said to him, okay, well, if it's devastated and the people aren't around anymore, go back to when they were around.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he never reports on how far back that was. He just goes mentally to when they still had a civilization.
So they go back to 1 million and there's some recent ruins, and then he goes back further.
Exactly.
And he sees the people.
Exactly.
I didn't
Now,
realize that. Okay.
These people are the same again as Swan saw. Very tall, sort of Nordic people, very broad-shouldered people, not an ounce of body fat. They're wearing these skin-tight clothes, that reveal every contour of every muscle. And he says some very interesting things about their worldview, their outlook, and their dying civilization. But what's most interesting is this. He says that a group of them were sent out in a craft to go scout out a new world that they could possibly develop as a habitation for themselves, because Mars was no longer a planet on which they could survive, right? And this scout ship runs into a planet where there are constant electrical storms. There's a tremendous amount of volcanic activity. It's the opposite of Mars, but in a way that's also difficult to support human life. In other words, it's overgrown with vegetation, right? It's an incredibly volatile but living planet. And they're like, we can't live in this planet under these conditions. We would have to modify this planet to live there. And so I suspect that what's going on there is the scouting out of a primordial Earth by people from Mars. Which then brings us to the question of the moon, and what the moon is, right? I mean, so we've got Carl Wolf telling us there's a city on the dark side of the moon. We've got Ingo Swan having done remote viewing that confirms that. But I think that the situation with the moon is actually a lot more disturbing than there simply being, a city-sized alien base on the backside of the base on the backside of the moon. You look at the geometry and the mathematics of the moon in relation to the Earth and the sun, it makes no sense. The moon is 1/400th the distance between the Earth and the sun, and it's 1/400th the size of the sun. And so that creates these perfect eclipses that we see, right? That by itself is very odd. And then you look at the fact that the craters on the moon are all only a few miles deep. You never find a crater on the moon that's more than 5 or 6 miles deep.
If you want to look strong, go to the gym. But if you want to be strong,
but
I'm going to end the live because I want to go live on TikTok. So all you TikTok lovers, I can come over there. I wanted to cap it for 8 o'clock, so we're going through a few bits. I didn't go through what I wanted to go through, so it's one of those fucking weird random ones again. Next week I'm going to be more organised with this shit, and there will be a few videos during the week, and I've got some lives coming up. And I'm live tomorrow, so I don't want to be on it too late tonight. So I'm going to go, and I will be live on TikTok, probably in about 20 minutes. Or if yous are live, I might join yous. ChatGPT called me a conspiracy theorist. I told it about the moon. Louise Hart, if you can't find me, you need to message someone like Melissa or something, or tell them what your name is so I can have a look to make sure you're not been blocked, but I'm sure you haven't. Right, I'm going to go.